Good morning, Tuvalu, and welcome to Star Trek The Original Series, Season 1, Episode 20, or as the real fans know it, Episode 14. Where today we are going to be doing something that is hopefully significantly more entertaining than looking up how to manage all the leaves in the backyard, which is what I've been doing all morning. If you don't know what we're going to do, we are basically going to be recording a audio commentary track live. So for copyright reasons, I of course cannot stream just an episode of Star Trek. So we're gonna have some little tricks, that's the wrong button, to help you get synced up. But yes, it is bring your own video. Paramount Plus link in the description. And yes, what else? I will be watching the remastered editions, which really doesn't make a difference. It's the same runtime. It's just, you know, if I comment on an effect, you'll have a different version. I knew I had the throat for this today. I've been a little unwell, and now I'm like, this intro's a little long. But yes, just so everyone has some time to get settled as I adjust this time bar, I do a little bit of rambling on before we hit play. Yeah, Court Martial is a noteworthy episode because, as I've mentioned many times before, as a kid, I watched the original series with my dad, and then didn't watch Star Trek for ages till like Next Generation in middle school. But I actually might have even been high school. I think it might have been it was high school. But I remembered 3 scenes from the original series before I started watching it again. One of them is when Sulu is flying the Enterprise through like a bunch of daggers on the view screen. I think that's "And the Children Shall Lead." I'm not 100% sure. But I remember it because it was pretty scary. As a kid, that one was scary. That one in particular stood out. The second one is from, it is the surgery scene from Spock's brain, because it was really cool. And thankfully, that's a scene that is always acknowledged is really cool and held in high regard, because Spock's brain is an episode that everyone agrees is absolutely amazing, and it's always got the reputation it deserves. And now is the unfortunate part, where I have to point out that none of that was sarcastic. Okay, well, the part that people acknowledge it, but no, Spock's brain is genuinely a great episode, and you're all wrong. And I don't understand the hate it gets, especially to the point that everyone seems to think it's obviously bad. And I've asked people why it's bad. Like, I've sought out people who hate Spock's brain to be like, can you explain to me why? And all their reasons don't really make sense. This is a topic we'll save for Spock's brain. You know, I'll probably even get my wife on for that one, because they love Spock's brain as well. Rightfully so, because it's a good episode. But the third scene is the climactic scene from Court Martial, what with the heartbeat scene. Which we'll get to, of course. I'll point it out when it comes up. If you haven't seen Court Martial, I don't really want to spoil these episodes too much out the back, but I do assume that people have seen basically the franchise. I mean, you're here to watch a TOS watch along. You know, you're probably a pretty dedicated fan. But yeah, Court Martial, it's pretty good from what I remember. The first court case episode of the franchise? I think so. They end up... My wife has a thing against court case episodes. They're always a bit upset when they come up, because they have problems with the court aspect of court case episodes. But, you know, generally they're pretty good, at least in my opinion. But yeah, we've probably rambled on enough. The way we're going to do this, we're going to get ready to start, is I'm going to do a countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, and then on go, we're all going to hit play. In fact, I've remembered I can use the spacebar for this, which is much more reliable. So, quick drink. Let's get the episode up on the screen. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And that did work. There we go. Yeah, sometimes that doesn't work. Hey, this is remastered, but is it the Antares out in the background? The first non-constitution class. And like the only one for a good long while. And here we've got the list of what's usually taken to be constitution classes. 10 of them, yeah. I think there's supposed to be like a dozen constitution classes in the whole Federation. Hey, is this the first time we've seen his green outfit? I don't know, it might be. We are like 14 episodes in. This is probably a lot of firsts. It's the first court case. It's the first court martial. It's the first time we saw something that wasn't an Enterprise, at least in remastered, or like Constitution, at least in remastered. I feel like they've taken probably like a teen, like a not an adult actress there, but they've dressed them up like they're 8, and they're definitely not 8 years old. I mean, fair, you know. They're not like throwing him straight into the trial room. They're just like, hey, there's a discrepancy, we gotta look into it. Oh, I gotta do the weird intros. That for some reason is a rule we have. There we go, that's what we're doing this week. Because it's easy on my throat. Well done, I hope you enjoyed. Ooh, they've made the Enterprise real, like, banged up in the remastered. This looks like K7, but mirrored. This set. It's a bit different. When is K7? I think that's season 2. Yeah, I've always found this bit kind of weird, where like everybody in this room. Like 100% of Starfleet officers sampled just seem to instantly assume that Captain Bloody Kirk just committed willful perjury after murdering one of his officers. That was also a friend, which is kind of weird. Like, Kirk's a big name even now. Remember as well, Kirk is known in the Academy of, like, oh, let me talk over this bit of sexism. Uh, you know, Kirk is the stack of books on legs. I think we might actually get that quote from this episode. Like, he's not at all the public kind of view of Kirk. And of course, it's weirdly a little like non-utopian, but it's TOS. I let that slide a lot more. And because of that, I murdered him. That is the logic that everyone else takes. Exactly. Finney blamed Kirk, and therefore was angry at Kirk. So Kirk murdered him. Bum bum bum. I do like, you know, I think he goes a little more off the rails in later episodes, but he is very cool and collected in you know, when he's in situations like these. Like Abrams Kirk would have, you know, reacted emotionally, even if it's just like a what? But Kirk's like, I don't know, like I'm telling the truth. It's wrong. I was gonna say that's impressive, but actually, I don't know. That kind of checks out. If we're on with a utopian federation. See, and here when he's actually getting emotional, like, it's after everything's piled onto him, and it works a lot better than if he just got emotional right away. There are a lot of cool remastered shots in here. I do wonder what they look like originally. I don't remember anything about this woman. That's gotta be Strange New Worlds. Ah, so you're the prosecution then. That's what Measure of a Man did. I don't like the implication of that line. I mean, other witnesses? Is there no one else on the bridge or the starship in general who could verify what happened? Very confident for a service that's never had a captain in this position. Is this... So obviously she shouldn't be the prosecution, but under American law, or like I'd imagine even most laws, is she even allowed to share what she said like this? Because I guess, both parties know the evidence that's going to be presented before it's presented in American law, and I believe most other court systems. Like, so, very few allow surprise testimonies and witness and evidence in court. The worst attorney in the world. I wonder something they probably didn't have in the 60s. Uh-huh. Yep. Oh, time is important, did you say? Thousands of books. You know what a computer can do? The best thing humanity's invented. Control F. Like, books, have advantages over computers. None of which are practical unless, like, it really strains your eyes. But even then, you'd still probably want to, like, use the computer to check even what page, a certain thing is referenced on, and then go get your book. Especially when, as we've established, time is important. I'm amazed you're not calling the prosecution, but go on. Honestly, the prosecution is the biggest scandal in this entire episode. Records officer. Why was a records officer in that pod anyway? Is that a lie detector? Man, that would have been useful last episode. The S stands for Spock. The SP also stands for Spock. Volcanian. Ooh. I was hoping that answer was going to be yes. Hello, Jacksaw. I mean, that's a fair evidence, I guess, that no one could like prove he didn't. It's a character witness. Stop saying Volcanian, Spock. Well, thank you for saying hi. You know, if that's Spock's view, a lot of his horrible decisions and flawed logic makes a lot of sense. It's still baffling he could have that viewpoint, though, to the extreme of, like, gravity exists. Yeah, I mean, like, we know the records have been tampered with, so I guess anything you could cite to prove, we can just say it was tampered with, but, you know. That's impressive. I hope they establish here what Kirk's motive actually was for murder. Because I think the Starfleet is going for, like, he was just tired, basically. A lapse of judgment. Like, the crime is negligence, not manslaughter or murder. But, like, Kirk has no motive here. Some other guy was angry at him and did nothing about it for, like, a decade. That's like me murdering my 4th grade teacher because I annoyed them once. I don't think we ever see that. Yes. I mean, I think this is pure speculation, but go on. Speculation on top of speculation. It's possible. But God, we can't defend against this. Hang on. Someone told me the prosecution was going to build their case as Kirk versus the computer. This isn't Kirk versus the computer. Again, it's very showmanship, but maybe it would have been good to point out that, like, that argument was bogus as hell and probably in, what would you call it? It's not in contempt, but this is a scene I do like, though. We get it a few times in the franchise. Yeah, like Measure of a Man did this as well, which I'm realizing has stolen a lot from this episode. Where they just establish how like decorated the defendant is. Yeah. He knows the next one is real embarrassing. Hey, we got the lie detector thing. Surely that's enough. Well, he could be remembering wrong. Certainly not the crew on the ship, but my ship. It's a good. There's my one critique of that speech. I do like this dress female uniform. I don't think we see it other than here. Ooh, that's a low number. 29457. Oh, we wanted to check the button colors, because I thought they were different colors, but they were all one color in like a episode a week or two ago. Also, I think this might be surprise evidence, or they just didn't bother to look this up. This is why my wife doesn't like court case episodes, by the way, is horrific court policy. Yeah, see, they're different colors. Sorry, I did hit the mic there, but yeah. I mean, of course, the three most important buttons, yellow alert, red alert, and jettison pod. Honestly, this isn't negligence. Well, it is, but it's not negligence on Kirk. It's gross negligence on whoever designed that button panel. Has this ever come up where, like, someone's been killed or injured due to horrific, like, UI implementation and design? And, like, who got punished? Was it the user or was it the designer? Like, this has to have happened a lot. It's people accidentally jettisoning the pods. No, I think I'm almost more interested in that episode is it Kirk's fault or the Starship designer's fault? Can you change your plea? There's another question. We need a lawyer. No, wow, this episode's flown by. I've just seen the time bar. Well, then you should do it. He's like, ooh, that's a good idea. We should go catch up with Pike. I wonder what he's up to nowadays. Oh yeah, I remember how Spock realized it in a really strange way. Yeah, it was the UI designer. You should use that as evidence. I don't think this plot line goes anywhere, by the way. Like, it is kind of weird, but maybe it's just a red herring sort of thing. I don't know. I guess you could say chess is a solved game in the 23rd century, just because of all the computing power. That would make this scene work a lot better. Equal matched employees, literally equal match, winning 4 games, 0.5 times 0.5 times 0.5, 0.4 times. I mean, a 6% is not the best evidence in court. And yeah, it's weird that the chess program would be flawed because the surveillance was edited, but, you know, it's the 60s, I don't know. They don't know what a computer is. It's basically a potato with some lights on it. Infallible. Man, I thought you wanted Kirk to win. Oh. I'm going to be generous and say that half of those that actually exist are not good examples of justice. I've skimmed the Hammurabi Code. It's quite interesting. The Hammurabi Code is an eye for an eye. And it's famously taught, it's famously whatever crime is like done, that's what's done to the criminal. You know, that's how it's always pitched. If you open the Hammurabi Code and take advantage of Control F, well, first off, I skimmed it, and I was amazed how many of the laws end with "shall be put to death." And I did a search, and like, I think it was a good 2/3 of those rules would have had the phrase "shall be put to death." And in most of those rules, nobody died in the crime. It's less an eye for an eye. It's more an eye for an eye, and then we put them to death. Anyway, welcome to That's Not the Point of this speech on rights, but... Does the Bible really talk about rights that much as well? I'm trying... I don't know. I guess my neighbor's wife has the right to not be coveted, but, you know, that's like 10 rights. Oh, 5 times. What's that? 3% now? Yep. Doubt. Really? Only 3? You don't have like a computer guy or Scotty? Hey, you! Oh, you were one of those 3 who messed with the program. Fair enough. Well, not generically, but in this search. Yeah. Here we go. Here's the cool scene. Here's the bit that blew, like, little Nathan's head. That I didn't tell you about before we all went to the bridge and evacuated the ship. It's like, it's 37:41, and we gotta evacuate like 200 people. Oh yes, that's how orbits normally work. Well, Admiral, that'd be dumb. That would take a long time. Look at how high in orbit we are. I mean, if we're not gonna maintain the engines, we certainly would have kicked ourselves into a pretty gosh darn high orbit. In fact, why are we even in orbit? Let's just go into deep space. Okay, here's the cool bit. Now let's ignore the fact it's not going to pick up anyone's voice. Rather than just turning off the bridge where everyone is, which would make more sense. Wait, he can do that remotely. He's been executed, Captain. He's no longer alive. See, this bit was so cool as a kid, I thought. I mean, yeah, it could probably be done easier, but, you know, in the dramatic sense, it's still kind of cool now. But, like, I thought this was real clever and, like, amazing as a kid. It was cool enough to be literally one of 2 scenes in the entire series I remembered for being cool. Well, you're only accused of, like, gross negligence to murder him. Is that the only bit of, like, VO that's not part of a captain's log in the whole series? That kind of struck me as weird. It's like, how do we explain that she was on the ship? Yeah, look, we go off about orbital mechanics so much in TOS, it just doesn't. I best, if we're gonna play devil's advocate, I suppose it's more reasonable to assume when you're reading about the satellites and papers from the 50s and 60s that genuinely would have lasted like maybe weeks because they're in such low orbit. Like how Sputnik wasn't up there for long, was it? Let me check. Was Sputnik? Oh yeah, Sputnik was up there for 3 months. Like it's still way longer than you'd expect. And by this point, we're going to the moon. There have been stuff that stick. I mean, the moon doesn't have an atmosphere. I guess that's the argument. But it's still ludicrously brief. He's clearly not thinking the most rationally. But I do wonder what his plan was after Kirk got arrested and stuff. Does he just not come out of hiding? Rip. I actually think this is the most egregious orbital mechanics thing in TOS because they knew they weren't going to have their engines. So you could argue that the standard orbit of the other series is for some reason just in the atmosphere. So when they lose power, it's a disaster. But here, well. Yeah, Kirk's like the innocent one here. Starfleet's just maybe really rough. Like, Worf killed a civilian ship, and they still made him a... Didn't they actually? Hang on. Did they make him a captain? They gave him the Defiant... Well, I don't remember, honestly. I don't think he made captain in the Prime timeline. Yeah, the engineering panels are really sparse in these early days. Look at those. And I love the wrench where there's not a bolt in sight. Oh yeah, and Kirk's magic ripping shirts, a staple, nice. It is interesting. Just like that, you easily could have had in the show. you wouldn't have needed the VO. This is a little on the longer side, I think, at 50 minutes, but and it is a short rip with those wires, really. Uh-oh, my headphones started to whine at me. It's a good thing we're at the end of the episode. It's a minor thing. Hopefully it won't get big. Oh god, in the pictures every time, it's like, no, you're in space. You're gonna be there for a long time. Someone go back in time and get the writers of this show Kerbal Space Program. They need to learn. There's opportunity here, I feel, for some meta joke in like Strange New Worlds or Lower Decks. Ooh, that's a nice Terminator on the planet, though. You got to appreciate those. That's a real nice remastered planet. Boom, 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 boom. Love the music. I think Arena's coming up soon. That one's got great music. I want to know what book it is. I would, if you seen the man. Spock won this court case, let's be honest. Wait, Lieutenant? Yeah, that's my reaction to this scene is, hang on, Lieutenant. I feel someone's got to be arrested here. Like, if you saw the prosecution kissing the defendant, I know that he was innocent, but I'm pretty darn sure she's not. Like, she wanted to lose that case. Maybe that's why no captain was ever tried, is, just all the defendants are like that. It's a shame we didn't see that. Yeah, as I said, I mean, you know, you got some critiques. We critique some general TOS things. You could poke holes, but I think genuinely it's well done. Like I was gripped, I was following the whole time. And here's what it looked like unremastered. This right here is why it's a personal preference to do them remastered. Like, often, I will go with the original effects, but, you know, I prefer not to see the green screen in my spaceships. It's a personal preference. Yeah, but no, I think that's definitely one of the better TOS episodes, and it's one where, yeah, you can poke the holes and stuff, but for me the holes don't ruin the episode. It's like I can still follow along and have a lot of fun with it. And yeah, speaking of which, looking ahead tomorrow, we've of course got Doctor Who, hopefully with my brother, doing the Unquiet Dead with the 9th Doctor. That should be nice. And then next week, on Saturday, we have got the Menagerie, which, I don't know if I'll do both parts on one stream or not. It will probably depend on my voice and how I'm feeling after the first. Because by coincidence, because I skipped that one Star Trek week, the Sunday, so the day after the Menagerie, we have Doctor Who's two-parter of the aliens of London in World War III. So that, that's a lot of talking, a lot of stuff. That's a busy weekend. But of course, we've done The Cage. I've done a watch through of The Cage, and we'll just see then, like if we do both parts or the other. And then, Shore Leave, that's got some lighthearted stuff. You got McCoy being a sexist because he's not a good character. And, I don't understand. I don't like McCoy. I suppose he's a good character in the sense that, like, he's consistent and believable, at least ignoring the time that he's supposed to have grown up in. He's just not a good person by, like, any stretch of the imagination. And I think I'm hardly in a small group here. I think I'm a minority. But yeah, McCoy is just... Somebody, I think it might even be McCoy, describes him as an old Southern fossil. I'm like, first off, that's just not good in general. But especially when you're supposed to be like 400 years past when old Southern fossils were young. Maybe you should have, I don't know, thought about something there. And not had your old Southern fossil. But anyway, after that, we got Gothos. We got the Gorn. Fun fact, I'm like 3 degrees of separation from the Gorn. It's either, do you count me and the Gorn? I'm somewhere between 1 to 3 degrees of separation away from the Gorn, depending on if you count me or the Gorn in there. That's one we'll get to. And then, yeah, we got the rest of season 1. Actually, hang on. We know when Discovery is going to come out. Discovery had its trailer. I'll talk about that briefly as I get my calendar up. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I want to be clear. It very much feels like a very different tone from the past 4 seasons, the Discovery trailer. It's got that sort of like, it's more of a lighthearted adventure. It feels a lot more low stakes, but it's amazing. It's like, what, a 5-minute Star Trek Discovery trailer S5. Google, please add all those spaces. Yeah, for a 1 and 32-second trailer, I think they say this is the most important / most powerful thing like 6 or 7 times, which was like, come on, Discovery. You just couldn't resist, could you? But no, I think it should be nice. I mean, it should be nice to have that change of tone. I don't think I'm going to particularly miss Discovery. I might miss Saru and the Vulcan president. That's easily the best thing Discovery's ever done. Well, I quite like the first Contact story of season 4, but I love the Vulcans in Discovery, especially so far in the future. They can really get them back to what Sarek was properly teaching and that mixture of logic and emotion. I adore the Discovery Vulcans. They're the polar opposite of the Strange New Worlds Vulcans. Like, the Discovery ones are good in every way, and the Vulcan ones, the Strange New Worlds ones are bad in every way. But, yeah, we've got that. When is that? April 4th, so I'll be here April 6th. That means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more watch-alongs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Depending on if the Menagerie is 1 or 2 weeks, we're going to get Gothos, we're going to get the Gorn. We are either going to end on the alternative factor, which I believe is like the antimatter universe thing. Yeah, that's a weird one. Or Tomorrow is Yesterday, which is the one where they've got that guy. They go back to the 60s. I'm just trying to see. Yeah, it's the one I'm thinking of. I'd hope we get Tomorrow is Yesterday, because what's the other one? Oh, we'll have to take a break for Landru. That's his face. We'll have to take a break for Landru after Discovery. But yeah, that's what it's looking at. We won't finish season 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2 months. We might finish season 1 before Prodigy comes out. We still haven't heard anything about that. But yeah, and the other thing I noticed is that the Lower Decks season 4 Blu-rays have finally gone on sale. They're actually selling them. It's not a pre-order like Season 3, but those will be released on April 16th. There's a Amazon listing now. You could go pre-order it, and presumably from a bunch of other places. But yes, with that, I think I will wrap it up here. After this very good episode, it was much better than figuring out how to deal with all the leaves in my yard. So, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time!